What's up, guys, and welcome to the Single Mama Podcast. Now, I decided to make this podcast in particular just because I went to the doctor and I was having some problems with being on my cycle where I bleed heavy, and it just made me start thinking about what I went through in the past when I took the Depo shot. Now, if you guys do not know what the Depo shot is, it basically is a shot that you take every 12 to 13 weeks, about every 3 months, around 4 times a year. Basically, I took it so I wouldn't come on my cycle that often. If I did, it was spotting, and most of the time I didn't, and so it was something that I didn't have to worry about. Now, I decided to start doing this years and years ago, basically because just like now, I have really, really heavy cycles, and sometimes I can have a cycle where it's normal or what I consider to be normal, and other times, guys, I it seems like it's such a heavy flow into where I have to keep constantly changing whatever it is that I'm wearing, whether it's a tampon or whether it's a pad. Now, I didn't mean to tell you guys too much information, but I'm just wanted to give you guys a little backstory about myself and what's going on. And I want to tell you guys all about the Depo shot. Now, the Depo shot, it seems to be, or to me, it seemed to be this miracle shot. Every time I went to the doctor, every time I complained about cramping, they would always tell me about this shot. Now, they told me about the pills and all that, but I'm the type of person where I cannot remember to take a pill for the life of me. If it's something, even my vitamins, guys, I cannot remember to take my vitamins the way that I should. Now, if I'm, doing something for my kiddos, it's nothing. I can do it for them, and I still forget it when it comes to myself. That's just me. That's just the way I've always been when it comes to taking medicine. I guess it's because I really don't want to. So as time passed, and my doctor was like, well, you really should start taking this shot. You either take it in your arm or, like your hip or something. And basically, you won't have to worry about coming on. And if you do, it'll be the little of nothing. So that's what I did. Now, starting off, if I can remember correctly, she told me to only stay on this shot 1 to 2 years. She said 3 years should be the max. But when I got to that 3 year period, and I got off, I would say for a couple months, maybe 8 to 9 months. And she told me basically it was fine that I get back on it as long as I put some time in between and kind of let my body snap back and get back on it, that it should be no problem. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you guys, this had to be at least over 14 or 15 years ago. And I had the same doctor for a long time. And even when I started going to my newer doctor, after I didn't go to that one anymore, she kept saying the same thing. So I had it in my head, just get on the shot 2, 3 years, get off for a couple months to a year, get back on again. That was just what I was doing through the years. But I started finding myself having certain problems, whether it would be, joints and things hurting, my knees hurting out of nowhere, my hip hurting out of nowhere. I'm seeing it like I'm fairly young, so it must be something I'm doing. I must be too active or something like that. So it kind of made me start slowing down, and I noticed that when I was younger, I was picking up, well, let me scratch that. When I was younger, I was thin. I wasn't really, really thin, but I wasn't as fluffy as I was after I started taking the Depo shot. And so I just maybe thought that it was where I was eating and where I was working and where I wasn't paying attention. But I also noticed when I worked out, it seems like nothing mattered. It did not matter how long I stayed on the treadmill. Nothing mattered. It seemed like as quick as I took the weight off, it came back even faster. Now, I started to look up things on the internet about the Depo shot just to find out, what was everyone else's experience with this, because I'm like, I cannot be the only person. But I know it's not any other health problems because I don't have anything else going on with myself. And it seems like I just kept hitting a brick wall. And a couple times, as you guys know, I have 2 kids. I have a 14-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. And so those were them time spaces that I got off, had my 2 kiddos. But I noticed during those times, my body would kind of go back to its normal and I could lose weight and different things like that. So I would say after I had my daughter, and she's currently 6, I would say about a year, if it was even a year after she was born, I decided to get back on the Depo shot. Now, I noticed that my hair, when I was on the Depo shot, it started to get a little thin. It would come out no matter what I did with it. And so I started doing protective styles. But I noticed when my daughter was born that my hair was healthy, and I thought it was maybe just the vitamins that I was taking, or some people be like, when you're pregnant and you're taking vitamins, your hair do this and your skin do that. So I thought that's what it was. And it seems like I started getting back down to my normal shape and all that, or my normal weight. And Lord and behold, I started having the heavy cycles again and bleeding heavy. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to go through this. And, at the time, I think my son, guys, don't kill me with my math, but my son was around 7 or 8 years old, I believe. And my daughter being 1, I was like, I don't want to go through these heavy cycles and, 2 smaller kids. And I was around 29 or 30 years old. So I was like, let me just get it back on the Depo shot. Now, mind you guys, everything was going fine health-wise besides my heavy cycles. Got back on the Depo shot. That's when I started noticing again the weight gain, me being tired all the time. And where I had my daughter, and my stomach started going, flattening back down with the exercise. After I took the Depo shot, I noticed I started getting belly fat. And it was like, this fat is not going anywhere but in this one spot. And I noticed how my hips and knees and different things was hurting and depression. And I started, also guys, in my hair, it seems like it was the worst that it had ever been. And I started thinking like, what could possibly be going on? I go to all these different specialists, taking all these different tests, going to the specialist, trying to see what's going on with my knee, trying to see what's going on with my hip. I looked up something, and it took me to a posting that was on Instagram, and they was basically saying like the things that they don't tell you about the medicine that you're taking. And one of them was the Depo shot. And it was talking about weight gain, being tired, belly fat, eyes budging. Guys, that was another thing. When I looked at myself after I started taking the Depo shot back again, and, throughout the years, I told you guys I was getting on and off. My eyes were literally sticking out of I looked at like some sort of cartoon characters, like the Simpsons, where their eyes are so big and fat and round. So I was like, okay, all of this can't be just happening to me. And, I just came across this post, so I decided to get off. Guys, when I decided to get off, now I still have those heavy cycles, but I've learned to just deal with them until premenopause and menopause come and just save me, I guess. But I decided to get off the Depo shot. And when I tell you guys that weight gain and being tired and the belly fat and the eyes my eyes literally, you could tell they were budging, being depressed and the hair loss, all of those symptoms went away. Now I know this podcast being kind of long, but I want to tell you ladies, the Depo shot is all fine and dandy if you are only going to stay on it for a year or two. And I don't know no woman out here that's willing to stay on something only for a year or two if you see the results that it actually is doing, and you actually having problems with your cycle. I would tell you ladies, do not get on the Depo shot. Do not take that shot at all. It's not worth it. I had so many up and down feelings over those years. The weight gain, being tired, the belly fat, the eyes budging, got me looking like a freaking cartoon character. The hair loss, the depression, and the way, guys, one of my knees and my hips feel. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It literally, and I was taking vitamins at the time. I wasn't good at doing it every day, but literally I could say out of 7 days out of the week, 5 days I was taking my vitamins. And most of those days that I doubled up when I realized that I missed it, because I knew, I was kind of reading on what would happen with bone loss and different things like that. I'm going to tell you guys, they only tell you about the disadvantages like the nausea, the headaches, the breast tenderness, and you may get slight bruising or the depression, but they don't tell you to what extent. It's so much that they leave out, and I believe that other people have reported it because I have. It was a group of women that was against these different birth control methods just because of the side effects. Find a natural way to deal with yours on your own. I myself like drinking apple cider vinegar in my water and different things like that in the morning to kind of ease up the bloating. And the bleeding is just what it is. I bleed almost like a waterfall. It's something that I'm getting used to, and I just know what I need to have at what time. But if you want to deal with some of the side effects, start looking up these natural ways to deal with it. And I'm going to give you guys a link that's going to be up on in this video to basically give you guys a place to go where I can find some natural ways and some things that you can just do throughout the month to make things easier on you. Because having things injected into you, or having those little patches or those little pills, anything that you don't have to take or don't have to be introduced into your bloodstream, into your body, don't do it. If you're listening to this, you can comment down below and tell me your experience, and I'm always there to chat back and forth with you guys when I check my comments. But if you're listening to me, do not take any form of birth control if you can help it. Now, if it's one of those things where it's a must, you do what you have to do. But if it's one of those things where you're just trying to make life a little bit easier, in the long run, this is something that you will be looking forward to do all the time. And it's something that, is just going to become second nature to you. Even if you get off and get on, get off and get on. I went through so much bull crap with being on that Depo shot that I will never turn back around again and take any form of birth control. If you're listening to me, you have any questions, any comments, put them down in the comment section below, or tell me about your experience. But I will never again deal with that Depo shot.